Holly Bruce is a Green Party councillor in Glasgow City Council. She is also a law graduate, but she turned away from the law, a loss, I'm sure. And she introduced a motion to make Glasgow a feminist city. And
I actually was part of a campaign group within Glasgow that looked at urban design and how it didn't work for young women in the city. So we developed a research report that recommended around 20 key recommendations for Glasgow City Council to embed within their policy. So that was the start of my journey. And when I got elected in May last year, I put that top of my priority list of what I wanted to do within the council. One of the key asks is embedding a feminist town planning approach into the city development plan. I saw that as a unique opportunity because the city development plan is going to be is going to be reformed within the next 2 years.
Started following the tragic murder of Sarah Everard in London in 2021. You know, we kind of realised Sarah did everything that a woman's supposed to do to stay safe when she's out in public. You know, she wore bright clothes, she stayed on a main road, she texted her friends, and yet she was still subjected to violence and by someone that she thought she could trust. And I think this kind of scared a lot of the women at Arup. You know, it's usually on the onus of the woman to try and keep themselves safe, but even when we do try that, it still happens to us. And I think we were all kind of angry and thought, we're in this position of influence, we should do something about it. It covers 4 themes, so safety and security, justice and equity, health and well-being, and enrichment and fulfilment. So we didn't want to look at just safety in isolation, which is what a lot of people do. We wanted to take a holistic approach. So we did that, and under each of the 4 themes, we cover the challenges that women face and the actions and solutions that can address those challenges. And we also came up with a gender-responsive roadmap and gender-responsive project foundations as well that people can use. What we've been trying to do is kind of tailor the argument towards kind of ambitions of males in kind of higher positions of power. So, you know, economic growth, sustainability are things that are kind of really important at the moment. We shouldn't have to do this, but whatever works.
Yeah.
I mean, we need it to work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you know, 330 million is lost to the economy in Liverpool City region every year due to women's fears of safety. 140 billion is lost to the UK economy because of women's unpaid labour. Like, I think stuff like that kind of really gets into kind of men's heads, especially. You know, if men used public transport the same as women did, we would lower carbon emissions by so much. You know, it's tailoring the argument to their ambitions, so they really want to kind of get involved with it is really important.
I think in my space and where I work, when the motion was up for debate, so there is 87 councillors in Glasgow, and it went to the full council chamber, and there was only one man that spoke to the debate. Everyone else was a woman, which was really disappointing for me, as I thought it was a really good opportunity for men to realise that it's a really important subject. And one thing I notice when I hear men speaking about it is that they relate it back to their lives and their daughters and their wives, when that's important, yes, but men need to start seeing through like a gender lens from a wider perspective, from different types of people, that's intersectional, that includes women of colour, disabled women, all women. So for me, that was really disappointing, the actual debate. But within the motion, it discusses that gender inclusive planning benefits everyone. So there is no argument for saying that we shouldn't be doing this, because the research backs it up. I've actually got a good example of one that I was speaking to you earlier about. So one campaign that I was really spearheading was to get parks lighting put into my local park, and there was opposition from biodiversity groups and the Bat Preservation Trust. And as a Green as well, I am very much for that, and would be pushed out the party if not. But no, it is something that I wanted to make sure that we were listening to women and teenage girls and climate-focused groups. And we've came to the conclusion that there is a route that can be put in within the park that is lit up to an appropriate standard that also complements biodiversity and doesn't kill the bats, essentially. So one of the main things I always kind of lean back to, and one of the kind of slogans that got me into politics in the first place, was that there's no climate justice without social justice. So we need to have both of those things in tandem.
We had a lot of stuff around Vienna, I'm sure you know a lot about that, yeah.
Poster child.
Yeah, yeah, which is great, the stuff they're doing, you know, naming streets after women. In London, only 27.5 streets are named after women.
Most of those are probably Elizabeth and Victoria, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing, a lot of the street names and monuments of women are either of women that don't actually exist. So like Alice in Wonderland, for example, you know,
Yeah.
or their monarchs. There's not really any other representation of women.
Yeah.
So yeah, actually, you know, embedding great women into the spaces around us can really, you know, change representation, make people realise that women actually have a place in this world and should be valued in these spaces.
Yeah.